First of all, introducing our challenger.
Out of the blue corner.
He's going to step in and he does. It's all over.
Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Eternal Insiders. My name is Luke, and as always, I am your host, and I'm being joined right now by one of the stars of Eternal 80, the big card just gone last weekend at the HBF Stadium in Perth, Western Australia. He's still there. It's Sebastian Szalay, fresh off a dominant 3-round performance against Dan Jones. Looked damn fine doing it, mind you. Thank you very much for your time here, Seb. First time on the show, man. Pleasure to have you here.
Yeah,
how you doing? How you feeling after that performance, brother?
Yeah, good, man. And thanks for having me on, and looking forward to it. And very happy with the performance against a guy like that at that level. You know, he had a good record, and I knew this was going to be a bit of a challenge this match. But I was really looking forward to it, and came through and got the dub.
You did get the dub done, man, and I mean, you looked exceptionally good doing it, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the conversation. But you know, you've got this win now. What are you sort of doing in your downtime? As we said, you're still over there in Perth at the moment. How are you spending your time? Are you just sort of cruising around, drinking everything in, maybe enjoying the beaches a little bit? How are you sort of how are you enjoying the win?
Yeah, well, after the fight, I went down south to Dunsborough, so about a 3-hour drive from Perth. Just been spending some time with the family, eating a bit of good food, just chilling on the beach, having a good time, relaxing. And it's been nice, just a little bit of downtime. And then soon I'll be getting back into training again.
I mean, it's a stark contrast to the build-ups to the fight, right? I mean, I'm assuming, you know, when you come into the fight, it's obviously doing the same thing everyone else is doing. You're dieting, you're not eating the food you sort of want to, and now you sort of get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, as it were.
100%, man. I mean, you know, you come down after this, you get a win, enjoy some nice food, and have a drink here and there, and just relax. It's not bad. It's pretty good.
I love it, man. And just on that, like, you know, coming into this performance, I mean, like we said, you look fantastic. But how did you feel sort of coming into it? Like, you know, everyone sort of has different experiences of their training camps. Was this one you were locked in for? How did everything go in terms of your preparation? How was the training camp? Did you feel as solid as ever? What can you tell us about the build up to this one?
Well, after the last Eternal in Sydney, I got the win over Joe Davis. I got the knockout in the first round. Right after that, I was very keen to jump back into it and just get back into training and go for it. Because I came out of that fight nothing. It was first round knockout against Joe Davis. So, you know, no injuries, nothing. Body was 100%. And we were looking to see what was next after that. And then speaking to Eternal, they wanted me to jump on the October card because, again, Perth, I'm a local boy from there. So it only made sense. And I was very keen to come over to Perth anyways because family, everyone's here. And I've fought here before. And, I just love everything about it. You know, get to see everyone, all the faces. And then got offered Dan Jones. And where at first, you know, I was like, this would be a really good matchup. Again, Dan Jones, his name is quite known in the MMA scene in Australia. Like a lot of people know who he is. And I knew this would be a good matchup. And even regardless, he's had a bit of time off, I still knew, like, you know, the guy is dangerous and he was going to be a very competitive fight. But I was very confident in coming in and straight after that fight, especially coming in and preparing for him. You know, I'm around solid people train with, and the preparation, like straight jumping into a camp, it was already there. Nothing needed to change. It was just, you know, basically just getting my weight down, everything like that. But jumping straight into camp and preparing for him, you know, solid guy, wrestler and stuff like that. I mean, I'm training with some of the best there is, so I couldn't complain about that. So everything leading up to this was good preparation. Even going to this fight, I was very confident and I knew what I had to do to beat him, you know, like from what I've seen of him. I knew the little details of what to expect in some sense. And it was good.
No, as you said,
nicely.
I mean, training with some of the best, of course, Seb Szalay fighting out of Freestyle MMA, and no secrets to the guys that sort of train out of there. I mean, I want to touch on this a little bit later in the conversation with a question I got for you, but I mean, you know, what an advantage and what a privilege that must be for you to be able to train with those guys, especially with the guys in a similar weight class. that you got training with you there. And I mean, just on the fight as well, like there was a couple of variables, as you said, in terms of, Dan, very experienced opponent, hadn't had a fight in a while, some sort of 3 or 4 years that I think it was before he sort of had this one, but an experienced opponent nonetheless. How did the fight sort of meet your expectations in terms of what you were preparing for? Was it did it kind of go the way you thought it'd go? Did you think you maybe be a little bit rustier? Like what, in terms of the fight played out, how close was it to what you'd sort of envisioned?
Yeah, like I expected, in all honesty, like the shots that I was landing, I was expecting I could get a finish. I was feeling the finish was there, but yeah, he was tough, man. Like certain shots I was hitting him with in that range and timing it off the movements and stuff like that. He was very tough. That was one thing. When I hit him a few times, I was like, far out, this guy is pretty tough. But again, I feel like my movement was too much for him, and he couldn't deal with it. And again, that stopped him from setting anything up. So again, like, when you are coming off a bit of time off like he had against a guy like me, who again is predominantly footwork, movement and stuff like that, I feel he couldn't take off. There's no point there where he could really set anything up against me like that, because my footwork was I was controlling. But yeah, he was tough. That's for sure. Like that's just one thing I took away from it, and I had to be careful not making any errors in certain areas, because again, a guy having a time off like this, you don't know what they've been practicing, you don't know what they've been doing, so no surprises like that. So I had to be pretty switched on against him.
And I mean, speed from your part, I mean, that was such a factor for this fight as well. I mean, you look at the exchanges you guys were sort of getting yourself in outside of what you were sort of setting him up for, and you were beating him to the punch in almost every exchange. Were you expecting that to be such a factor in this fight? Did you think that, look, I'm going to come in here with the decided sort of speed advantage, and you were going to use that or to your advantage, as it were?
Yeah. That's I knew that my footwork and speed is going to make a big factor. And again, like for him, he's been out for a while, actively like to jump in and fight someone when like that. I do control the distance. I do move quite a bit, and the speed I'm moving and the range I'm covering, it would be hard for him to adjust. Now I was expecting that he wouldn't be expecting it. Yeah.
I mean, you just touched on a bit of your style as well. I mean, you sort of get dubbed the Karate Man, at least on social media from what I can sort of see. I don't know how sort of official of a nickname that is or anything like that. But can you give us a bit of insight for those that don't know? Like, where does your style sort of come from? I guess this is kind of an overarching question, and maybe you can even give us a bit of a background into, your journey to sort of mixed martial arts for people that aren't necessarily as familiar with you. Where does that style come from? Because at one moment, you've got a karate stance. I mean, you're using the footwork, you're switching stances and everything. And then the next minute you're throwing these bombs, like almost Justin Gaethje-like, sort of such a hybrid kind of style you're coming into the fights. Like, where does your style sort of come from?
So yeah, I've done karate since I was a kid. So 6 years old. Basically, I've done karate from 6 years old. I done karate, and at the age of 15 to about 23, I competed international point style fighting and national Australian level national point style fighting. So I had a lot of years of experience in point style fighting. So again, I do come from a traditional karate background, where it's all point style. Like Lyoto Machida, he did the same. He's Shotokan. I'm originally Shotokan as well. And that's mainly where the blend comes from, the style. And as I started to get introduced to MMA and, all mixed martial arts, I started with the coaches I had and everything like that, I started trying to blend in my own little style with the karate, with the MMA. So it's a little bit of, like you said, it's kind of a hybrid. I have a bit of a unique style in that sense, where I'm trying to put it together and be a mix of MMA with the karate blended in. And again, you can see it where I can change with the footwork and do things like that. That's just all having good coaches around you and people around you and trying to mold a certain way of fighting like that. Yeah.
And I mean, kudos to the coaches as well, like letting you sort of express yourself in your kind of style. And I mean, I think a lot of coaches do that right. But I mean, it's also from a fan perspective, like it's such a thrilling thing to watch because you've got such a fan-friendly style. I mean, mixing up, as we said, from that karate style and then mixing it with that MMA style. Like, it's, if you sort of look at some of the karate guys that we've got in some of the bigger promotions, like you look at a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I mean, his karate sort of throughout. And then you look at the guys that, tend to throw those kind of looping bombs or the power shots and that sort of thing. They're not working off like a karate base. So to see what you kind of do, I mean, it's such an attractive thing as a fan to watch. And I mean, you cast back to your last win, like you mentioned, at Eternal 78, with that huge knockout win that you got. Obviously, that went viral. That was a UFC Fight Pass highlight. Like, how are you feeling after that win? Because that was huge. Like, you must have watched the replay back a couple of times. I know I did a million times in that venue and everything. What was that moment like, getting that win in that fashion that you did?
Again, like before that fight, I was meant to fight an Eternal previously to that, and I had to pull out due to some medical reasons. So I had to go through a bit of ups and downs to get to that point, and there was a few issues that happened with my health, and I had to just had to deal with all that, and then coming off and then going to this fight with Joe Davis, the weight cut and doing everything again leading up to that, and then getting in the fight and getting a finish like that. It was pretty cool, man. Like, I was very happy because, everything that happened, like just to be there and fight, that's my main reason why I was really happy. And obviously getting the finish like that made it even better. But I was very happy with that. It was good.
I do apologize if you can hear me. There's sometimes a little bit of a delay when we're sort of talking. It breaks out every now and again. I think you might be back there now. Have you got me live talking to you?
Yep.
It comes in and out every now and again, but it's okay for the most part.
Okay.
So no stress.
That's sweet, man.
It seems like it's back to normal now. I mean, on that,
beauty.
I mean, you had that fight in Sydney and everything, of course, where you train in New South Wales, a lot closer to home. What's sort of the vibe difference like? I mean, we know what HBF Stadium in Perth is like, massive crowd. I think we had 3,100 fans there. The one in Sydney, such a small venue, very intimate, very different sort of vibe. How would you sort of rate the two experiences? I mean, where do you sort of like fighting at? Or where did you sort of, what do you think was sort of the better venue to fight at in terms of the vibe?
Again, I always think Perth is one of the best. Again, it's like just to set up the HBF Stadium and everything like that, and the way it's run there. And again, I suppose it is familiar to home to me. That's where when I first started doing MMA, my first fights was at HBF Stadium. So it's always been there. So there's something about it. I always do like it. But saying that, the Sydney event was pretty dope. Like the being in that little area. I don't know. Were you there? Did you see it?
For the Sydney one?
Pass. Yeah.
So the Sydney one, that's the second Eternal event I've been to. The first one was the last Perth event we had in February. So I was there I got there just after your fight. I saw it on UFC Fight Pass. So I had a flight delayed out of Victoria and got there late. And then I had to kind of push through that freaking crowd. And your fight already happened. I'm watching on the bloody way in the taxi. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, it's all happening. Like, so I missed it live and in person, but damn, it looked good on TV.
Yeah. Well, the thing was with Sydney, man, it was pretty cool because you went in there and like you would have known as well, like it was very tight, small in a place like that. Like it felt like just like really in close. Everyone was on top of each other there. There's something cool about that, it was very cool fighting in that area where everyone was just so close to each other. You're so close to the cage, and it just felt like there was a good vibe about that one as well. I really did enjoy fighting there as well. So it was cool. Like you probably know as well, you had to get past everybody and do all that. But it was a pretty sick venue. Yeah.
It was different, being referred to as sort of like a bit of a boutique sort of environment, fans sort of on top of everything. But it was cool in a real special type of way because it just was so different. And I mean, the place was just sort of jam packed. I couldn't get to my friggin' seats when I rocked up there. Like I was actually up on that sort of stage thing in front of the the tally and everything that was up there. And I was worried I wasn't gonna be able to get to my seat. No one was letting me through. But I mean, you guys are putting on a show, so I can't blame everyone from that perspective. But it was a sick venue, but you're right. I have to agree with you. Like nothing beats HBF Stadium in Perth, Western Australia. People must be getting sick of me mentioning that on this podcast because I talk about it all the time.
No, really.
I loved it. Like it's so good, and you can tell that from on TV as well. Like I know the spiritual home for Eternal MMA is the Gold Coast, but man, the Perth fans and everything, like they show up, they show out, they're loud. The venue is fantastic. Everything about it's fantastic. So
this one broke the record as well, didn't it? Most people.
Yeah, so I think the last time it was there was 2,500 fans for that February card ahead of the UFC.
Yeah.
And this was like 3,100. So just like what a turnout, man. It must have been pretty special to fight.
That's the thing, man. Just goes to show like how much it's growing. You know, it's good. Like this is what we need, and it's helping build the fighters and just like more people coming and showing their support and stuff like that. Yeah, it's awesome, mate. Can't complain.
It's trending in the right direction. I mean, speaking of trending in the right direction, yourself now on a 4-fight winning streak, all of those for Eternal MMA. I mean, one blemish on your record, but I mean, that was against Abdallah Bayeda, and I mean, he's obviously one of the up-and-comers in the division as well with a lot of promise. But I mean, are you feeling that momentum right now? I mean, we talk about the performances that you've just had, that massive knockout win at Eternal 78. You look fantastic in this dominant decision win now. I mean, are you feeling that momentum? Like everything is on track for you to do big things?
100%, man. You know, I'm looking forward to what's next. And again, beating Dan Jones, this puts me in a good spot now. You know, this gives me options here. We'll see what happens, especially with some fights this weekend on Eternal Gold Coast. You got Diego, you got a few of those guys fighting and stuff like that. You also have Dan Jones' brother, which is, there you go. He's fighting Diego.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. You know, it's actually hilarious when they announced that fight with Diego and his brother, and they put the picture up. I had so many people messaging me. They were going, "Oh man, what happened? Like, you know, did he pull out? Why is he fighting Diego? This and that." And I'm kind of like, I go, no. Like, it was a few people, I was like, fuck, they look so similar, the both of the brothers. He had a bunch of people messaging me going, "Oh, what happened, man? Like, you know, you're fighting still?" And I was just like, no, it's just his twin brother. And everyone's like, "Oh, okay." So that was pretty funny. Yeah, but
because they're twins, aren't they? Not just brothers. They're twins.
They're twins. That's it. Yeah. This puts me in a good position in the sense where where the options are and stuff like that, you know. And then you obviously got Abdallah later on. That's my only loss, so that would be nice to get that one back. That's for sure, definitely. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Also, my boy Justin. Justin's gonna hopefully we'll see what happens with him. But we'll see. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to what's next. You know, I feel the momentum's there for me, and I'm just gonna keep taking it, man. Keep getting those wins and just keep going.
Keep on rolling, brother. I mean, the momentum is right there. I mean, you know, as far as like your boy Justin, it certainly didn't stop from a cheeky little call out after your win at Eternal Lady to say, "My boy Justin there's with the belt," and that sort of thing. Obviously, he was there in your corner, so. I mean, you know, a couple of killer featherweights out of the same gym, right? So it's and speaking of that, I mean, you know, Freestyle MMA. I mean, just talk about how valuable that is. I mean, especially from a featherweight perspective, the best featherweight in the country right now as the Eternal Featherweight Champion, the best featherweight on the planet in Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, you know, how can you just describe like how valuable that is to you as far as your career, your progression, the looks that you would get with those guys? Like, it must be something pretty special.
Yeah, look, man, like I'm training with all the boys at Freestyle, and you know, it's again, you can't say anything about it. It's awesome, man. Like the amount of looks we have, and we're always trying. It's iron sharpens iron. All those guys, you know, we're always just trying to feed off each other and get better each time. And again, you know, training with the best, especially like, you know, Volkanovski, and you know, you got like Justin, all that stuff. It all helps, man. You know, we're all getting better, growing, and it's awesome, man. I love it there, and everyone's so good, and it's just a really good gym.
No, and the performance and matching, you know, what you're sort of getting out of that gym, man. So like I said, I mean, one of the most exciting fighters that we have on the roster. And I mean, you're an Eternal fighter through and through, all your pro fights, you know, bar one of obviously being with Eternal MMA. You had a couple of your amateur fights for Eternal MMA. So we're very much looking forward to seeing what comes next for you, man. I mean, you mentioned a couple of different options there that you could potentially have. Is there something that you prefer to do? Is a particular opponent that you would like to see? I know you did mention a couple of names, but if you got to pick, what would you ideally like to do next?
The thing is, man, it's always, you don't really know. It's always kind of changing at the moment. Like fights are here, there's this opponent, that opponent. Some may jump to this organizer and some may do that. So you don't really know. Like that's the thing. The options are open. It's there. I guess we'll see what's going to be available and what's going to happen. But look, it's all like we'll see what happens. That's probably the best way to look at it. You know, either way, I'm ready for whoever and stuff like that, and we'll just see. Yeah, be good.
Whatever happens, man, the future is bright for you. One of the most exciting fighters that we have fighting for Eternal MMA. So hopefully, whenever it is, hopefully it is soon that we get to see you in the man. So I'll just say this, all the best, man, and can't wait for whatever comes next for you. Thanks for coming on the show for the first time, man. Absolute pleasure to talk to you. Enjoy this win. Soak up that Perth weather, man. Bro. Get back into the training, and we'll see you whenever you come back against whoever that might be. God help them.
Beautiful road, and cheers, man. Thank you very much for having me on, and just looking forward to see what happens next. Thanks again, brother.